In May 1998, a group of European experts gathered in Baveno, Italy. They drafted and signed the Baveno Manifesto, which resulted in a European Union endeavour now known as the Copernicus programme. 20 years later, Copernicus is recognised as the world's most ambitious and successful Earth observation initiative. Back then, the European Commission, the European Space Agency, EU METSAT, and representatives from the French, German, British and Italian space agencies decided to engage in the development of a unified Earth observation programme under the name of Global Monitoring for Environmental Security, or GMES. GMES was initially designed as a tool to support policymakers in need of environmental data. The concept of security in GMES evolved to encompass crisis management and response in the wake of disasters, observation and protection of ecosystems, monitoring of borders, defence against different types of threats, such as piracy. GMES thus became Global Monitoring for Environment and Security. In 2003, intensive R&D activities were launched by the European Commission, paving the way for the definition and implementation of operational services. In parallel, ESA started developing the dedicated GMES space component, a family of Copernicus Earth observation satellites called the SENTINELS, and launched the GMES Service Elements projects to investigate new use cases. 3 years later, in 2006, the European Commission established the GMES Bureau. The objective was to set up a management structure to oversee the development of the GMES space component and to progressively roll out the services, with land monitoring and emergency management as precursors. Legislation was adopted in 2008, under which the European Commission would provide the overall coordination of GMES. A dedicated budget was then approved under the 2014-2020 Multi-Annual Financial Framework. The programme, after being renamed Copernicus in 2011, transitioned from a pre-operational phase to its initial operations. Copernicus finally reached full operational status as Sentinel satellites were launched starting in 2014 and services reached operational maturity. Today, the programme relies on 7 Sentinel satellites in orbit of 4 different models, on contributing missions and on in-situ data, and includes 6 operational service lines, all together serving hundreds of thousands of users worldwide. The availability of Copernicus data is also guaranteed until 2030, while the European Commission is requesting an increased budget for the 2021-2027 Multi-Annual Financial Framework. Thanks to this unique European success story, environmental management, climate action, disaster management and sustainable development or agriculture, just to mention a few areas, can rely on hundreds of petabytes of free and open, timely and actionable information, while jobs are created and European industry grows further.
And now, it is the right moment for the next step. With the new EU space programme, we propose to invest 5.8 billion euros in Copernicus to develop this most ambitious and successful Earth observation programme in the world. With Copernicus, Europe has an opportunity to increase its leadership on fighting climate change and in ensuring global security and safety. Today we are bringing a new initiative, the Copernicus Data and Information Access Services, or DIAS, will make the access to Copernicus data easier through industry-led platforms and cloud computing environment, so that startups can use and innovate on top of Copernicus data. So if you have an idea for business or for an application using Copernicus data, it's much easier to start now. This is a great way to celebrate the 20 years of Copernicus. Europe is now the second space power in the world, and we are in the space for the long run.